Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking the code on one of the most incredible human abilities, something we all do every single day, usually without a second thought. We're going to talk about how we learn to talk.
So, let's start with a story that has, haunted and fascinated scientists for over 50 years. It's the tragic case of a girl known only as Jeannie. You see, when she was found, she'd been completely cut off from the world, and because of that, cut off from language itself. Her struggle to learn to speak, even with tons of help, became this really critical piece of a much, much larger puzzle. Because Jeannie's story really forces us to ask this profound question about who we are. Is language just a piece of biological hardware we're all born with, just waiting to be switched on? Or is it more like software, something that can only be installed through connection and experience? Basically, is it nature or is it nurture?
To even begin to answer that, we first need to understand the basic toolkit. See, language isn't just a big pile of words. It's this incredibly organized system, and it's governed by a set of universal rules.
Think of these 5 systems as the operating system for communication. First up, you've got phonology. That's the basic sounds, like p or b. Then there's morphology, which is how you combine those sounds into meaningful bits, like adding ing to walk to make walking. Next is syntax. That's the grammar, the rules that let us string words into sentences that actually make sense. Semantics is the meaning of it all. And finally, you have pragmatics. This is the social side of language, knowing how to be polite, when to tell a joke, or how to ask a question when you really mean, do this now. Every single language on Earth uses these same 5 building blocks.
So how do all these building blocks actually come together? Well, the process starts, believe it or not, in the very first moments of life. The journey from a totally silent newborn to a chatterbox toddler is honestly nothing short of miraculous, and it follows this remarkably similar path for babies all over the globe.
That first year is just an explosion of development. After a few months of cooing, babies launch into babbling right around the 6-month mark. But here's what's so fascinating. What happens between 6 and 12 months? Some really groundbreaking research by Patricia Kuhl showed that babies are born as citizens of the world. That means they can hear the subtle differences between sounds in any language. But by their first birthday, their brains have specialized, tuning right into the specific sounds of their native tongue. They literally go from being a universal linguist to a local expert, all before they've even said their first real word. Amazing, right? Okay, so after that first magical word pops out, the floodgates just swing wide open. The kind of gradual pace of that first year, that gives way to a truly breathtaking acceleration.
At 18 months old, a toddler has, on average, a vocabulary of about 50 words. A respectable start for sure.
But wait for it, because just 6 months later, by their second birthday, that number has quadrupled. They now have around 200 words at their command.
This is what scientists call the vocabulary spurt. And it's not just steady growth, it is an exponential leap. They go from learning a few words every few days to suddenly picking up several new words every single day. It's just this incredible period of rapid-fire learning. And during this time, toddlers become absolute masters of efficiency. They do not have time for little words like or the. They use what's called telegraphic speech, these short, 2-word phrases that cut right to the chase. But wow, do they convey a massive amount of meaning. More milk isn't just a statement, it's a demand, it's a desire, it's a whole story packed into 2 tiny words.
Okay, so we've seen the what and the when of how language develops. But that still leaves our big mystery from the beginning, the how. Where does this incredible, almost pre-programmed ability come from? Is it wired in or is it learned? Nature or nurture?
For decades, this was a really fierce debate. You had the nature camp, led by thinkers like the famous linguist Noam Chomsky, who argued that we're all born with a language acquisition device, a kind of biological blueprint for language. And they'd point to specific areas in the brain, like Broca's and Wernicke's areas, as proof. Then you had the nurture camp, arguing that no, language is learned entirely through interaction, that caregivers shape a child's ability through things like parentese, that high-pitched, sing-songy voice we all instinctively use with babies.
So, who was right? Well, the big reveal, after all that debate, is that it's not one or the other. It was never really a showdown between biology and experience in the first place.
And that leads us to where most scientists have landed today, the interactionist view. It says our brains do come pre-wired with the capacity for language, that's the nature part, But that wiring can only be activated and really shaped through rich social interaction and experience, and that's the nurture part. Biology provides the foundation, but it's the environment that builds the house. It's a partnership.
And maybe the most powerful example of this amazing collaboration in action is bilingualism. I mean, this isn't just about knowing more words. The research is crystal clear. When a brain that's already primed for language gets immersed in a rich dual-language environment, it actually becomes stronger. It boosts critical thinking skills that go way beyond just being able to speak.
Which leaves us with a final, really fascinating question to chew on. All the evidence shows that the infant brain is basically a super sponge for language, and that learning more than one has clear cognitive benefits. So, by waiting until elementary school or even later to introduce a second language, are we missing the most critical window of opportunity that nature gives us? It's definitely something to think about.